Hello, and welcome to Module 2, Chapter 10 of the PLA-MNH e-learning course. In this chapter, we will look at the next steps for the PLA-MNH group program you are planning. The chapter is split into 3 sections. First section looks at the next steps. Second section looks at what to do after reviewing this particular chapter. And the third section covers what to do if you have any questions. So let's start looking at the next steps. For most programs, there are 12 steps to successful completion of the PLA-MNH program. Not all these steps are required for all programs. You can adapt them to your needs. The 12 steps are split into 3 phases. The first phase is the setup phase. In this phase, you will finalize the program plan, conduct entry meetings at multiple levels to ensure partners and stakeholders are aware of the program and are engaged. Finally, you will select and train all members of the implementation team in the approach, starting with managers and cascading to supervisors and facilitators. This phase takes an average of 6 months to complete, but duration is flexible depending on the scale of your program. You will have explored this in depth in Chapter 5 of this module. The second phase is the implementation phase. In this phase, your facilitators will form and facilitate PLA-MNH groups. Your supervisors and managers will monitor and support this process. This phase will take at least 15 months, allowing for a full cycle of meetings to be conducted, but it also may be longer. Again, you will have explored this in depth in Chapter 5. The third phase is the evaluation phase. In this phase, you may choose to conduct a formal evaluation of the PLA-MNH group program. This phase takes an average of 3 months to complete, but this is flexible depending on the scale of your program and needs in terms of evaluation. You will have explored this in Chapter 5. Please remember, as with any programs that need to be evaluated, you need to consider evaluation at the start of your program, not just at the end. We will now briefly guide you through each of the steps. Step 1. National entry meetings. While depending on the scope of your program, national representatives may have been involved in the program design from the start. The direct design team is quite small, so it is important to present your plans to a wider group of national stakeholders and partners. The objectives of the meeting are to introduce the program to a wider group of national stakeholders, gain support from national stakeholders and build partnerships that can strengthen the program, gather inputs to help refine and finalize the program plan. It is vital to invite all program stakeholders at the national level to these meetings. This includes stakeholders considered to be gatekeepers. This may include, as appropriate, national level representatives from government departments, particularly those working in health and gender, but also water and sanitation and education, national and international NGOs, traditional leadership, elected representatives, religious leadership, traditional health practitioners, and existing community group networks. In Step 2, you finalize the program plan. You may want to use inputs from the national entry meeting to help refine your plan. You may want to revisit chapters 2 to 9 of this module to support completion of this step. In Step 3, you conduct district-level entry meetings to introduce the program to all key stakeholders and partners at the district level. Similarly, as with national stakeholders, district representatives may have been involved in the PLA-MNH design itself, but it is important to officially introduce the program to a wider audience at the district. Their engagement can play an important role in successfully implementing the PLA-MNH program. The objectives of these meetings are to introduce the program to the wider group of district stakeholders, gain support from the district gatekeepers, develop links with the district who are able to provide support and resources for the PLA-MNH groups and the solutions they develop and implement in the future. It is vital to invite all program stakeholders at the district level to these meetings. This may include representatives from national and international NGOs, government departments, particularly those working in health and gender, but also water and sanitation and education, traditional leadership, elected representatives, religious leadership, traditional health practitioners, existing community group networks. As mentioned, these introductory meetings are an opportunity to develop links with stakeholders who might be in a position to support PLA-MNH group solutions. It is not possible to know exactly which solutions every PLA-MNH group will develop. This is up to the groups themselves. However, from experience, it is possible to predict the most common types of solutions that will likely be identified and implemented by the groups in all programs. These include health education, transport strategies and improvements, income generation activities, group savings funds, bed net distribution, vegetable gardens, liaising and lobbying health facilities to improve quality of care. The solutions are resourced or leveraged by the communities themselves, and as such, the program does not provide financial support or handouts of any kind to the groups, refreshments, incentives, or transport allowance to group members, resources needed to implement PLA-MNH group solutions. These initial entry meetings are a great opportunity to identify actors that may be in a position to support groups in their implementation of solutions. Although PLA-MNH programs do not provide resources to support the solutions themselves, they will provide support and materials necessary to implement the program. These include manuals, tools, and picture cards to guide the PLA-MNH groups, trained facilitators to form PLA-MNH groups and lead meetings, trained supervisors to supervise the PLA-MNH groups, technical advice, support, and capacity building in PLA-MNH, and basic stationery, including a group notebook, paper, flip charts, and pens, and finally, links to other partners and stakeholders. Now we go back to our next steps. Following the district entry meetings, step 4 is to conduct community-level entry meetings to introduce the program to all key stakeholders and partners at the community level. The objectives of these meetings are to gain support from the community gatekeepers, develop links with the community who are able to provide support and resources for the PLA-MNH groups and the solutions they develop and implement in the future. Group members can be very inventive and persuasive in mobilizing resources from local stakeholders. Again, it is vital to invite all program stakeholders at community level to these meetings. This includes stakeholders considered to be gatekeepers and those who may potentially support groups. They typically come from traditional leadership, elected representatives, religious leadership, traditional health practitioners, existing community group networks, local government departments, and NGO representatives if they are working at this level. Following the entry meetings at different levels, you go on to step 5, prepare the picture cards by designing them with a local artist in collaboration with MNH experts and beneficiaries, pilot testing them in local communities, adjusting them based on the feedback, if applicable, and once finalized, printing them. You may want to revisit the decisions you made in Chapter 6 of this module to support completion of this step. Step 6 is to translate the learning manuals into the local language and printing sufficient number of copies. Step 7 is beginning to build your PLA-MNH team by selecting and then training your PLA-MNH group managers. You may want to revisit the decisions made in Chapter 7 to support completion of this step. Step 8 is selection and training of PLA-MNH supervisors. You may want to revisit the decisions made in Chapter 7 to help you finalize this step. Step 9 is the selection and training of PLA-MNH facilitators. You may want to revisit the decisions you made in Chapter 7 to support completion of this step. In Module 3, you will learn how to train facilitators to fulfill their role in the PLA-MNH group program. Step 10, the very exciting step, is forming the PLA-MNH groups. You may want to revisit the decisions you made in Chapter 5 to help you finalize this step. Step 11 is the step that translates all your design and preparation into this action. PLA-MNH groups are facilitated, supervised, and managed. You may want to revisit the decisions made in Chapter 5 to 7 to support completion of this step. The final step is Step 12. Following implementation of the PLA-MNH cycle of meetings, it is time to evaluate the intervention. In Modules 3, 4, 5, and 6, we will cover how to monitor and assess group performance at the output level through the routinely collected data. Also, PLA-MNH group program evaluation is covered in Module 11 of this training course. However, evaluation can be a complex area. Evaluation of the PLA-MNH intervention outcomes, that is, its effectiveness, is best tailored to your program characteristics and needs, but can include assessments based on program-administered population surveys and through the use of existing secondary data. WCFs are experts in the evaluation of the PLA-MNH group programs, so please don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you would like further help with your evaluation plans. You can reach us at learn@womenandchildrenfirst.org.uk if you would like more information. Now that we covered all the 12 next steps in your PLA-MNH program journey, what should you do next? First, we suggest you update the Module 2 progress tracker. Second, we recommend you do exercise 10.1. As always, if you have any questions, we are very happy to support you. Please feel free to contact us on email or on the phone using the contact details visible on the screen now. Thank you so much for participating.